It's a rough life. Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life. Begging for a cookie is a rough life. Never getting nookie. They chase me from the kitchen when I start to beg. They think that I'm perverted when I hug their leg. I remember that's when I liked music. I don't really like music anymore, but that's the period when I did like music.
Okay.
So who else would be some of the people some of the more popular people that would?
Well,
that you would
I
put
mean,
on
there
the
was, you know,
turntable in those days?
Because folk music was going on, the cool thing about it was you could learn a few chords on the guitar, and then you could like be the life of the party, hopefully, or whatever. You were in the game. So I would listen to, you know, the sort of folk people, authentic and inauthentic or whatever. But the whole time, there's rock and roll going on through the 60s, and it's the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Before that, Roy Orbison and, you know, the Everly, just songs. It was so beautiful and lovely. And Ray Charles. I remember I would get my hair cut at this barber shop, and the barber's name was Stanley. And I'm sitting there, you know, just getting my hair cut. It's boring, it's a drag, whatever. Stanley's a nice guy. And he's got the radio going, and it's Ray Charles is on it. I'm listening to it, and snip, 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 snip. I said, God, Giorgio on my mind is just beautiful. I thought, this is a grown-up. This isn't teenage love. This is a grown-up. And then he gets to the thing at the end where he goes, whoa, whoa, and he goes up into falsetto, and my head went like, and I remember Stanley going, you know, what are you doing? I nearly cut your ear off, you know? And I couldn't say, you know, Stanley, didn't you notice the earth just moved? You know, things are completely different now. Hell yeah.
You still feel that way when you hear music that you
yeah, when it gets you. I mean, I don't hear it as much. I'm getting old and jaded or whatever, but I still,
do you find the fact that you write songs kind of, like Alfred Hitchcock once said that he can't watch a movie anymore because he knows all the tricks? Do you find that happens?
I don't know all the tricks, but you know, if you're writing songs, you're being so critical about what you do that it's hard to go and listen to someone else and not be just that critical. So a lot of times I'm listening to something and I go, ooh, I wish he hadn't said that, you know. Right. Whereas, I mean, if I could just listen like I listened as a kid and just let it wash over you and not be judgmental that way, but you kind of lose your innocence when you move to a place like Nashville, really.
Yeah,
you listen with much more critical ears.
When you write, do you do a lot of rewriting, or is it mostly just
stream
of consciousness type thing?
No. The big difference from when I used to write and the way I write now is I co-write a lot, particularly with this guy John Hadley, and I'll go over to his place. I'll have kind of a little idea bubbling away, and I'll say, you know, like one time I went over and said, John, I was driving over and a truck went by, and it was like Zambini cleaning service, and I went, the great Zambini, you know, this magician, and that was all I had. I said, you know, a magician, what would he have him do? And maybe he could fall in love with his assistant, and you know, you start banging ideas around, and over the course of probably less than 2 hours, you get the form of the song and what it's going to do. And you say, and you make a little demo, you know, so
you don't forget the music.
Yeah, okay, it can happen really easily. And then you take it back and you know, meet the next day and say, I think we need to change this and this, but it's usually not that much. It's like another half hour.
All right. Do you ever use a rhyming dictionary?
Yeah, you know, it's the last resort. you know, you want it to kind of spring from your, you know, fecund
Yeah, but sometimes
imagination.
you're going through the things, A, pay, play, that, you know. You're going through
Yeah,
that
well,
kind of stuff.
sometimes you run into the right word. You
Yeah.
know, I have to be pretty frustrated, you know, or, you know, be wanting to use the bathroom or something. I gotta get it now, you know.
Right.
You know, so I try not to use it.
All right, tell me about this this Wheels song. This not Wheels.
Big Cadillac.
Big Cadillac. You know, da 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 da. Where'd that come from? You know, da 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 da.
Where did that come about? I think there was the guitar lick. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
But you sing it instead of.
I play it, I sing it, I dance it. I'm the total entertainment package. But as far as writing it, that was that music. And then why would I think, you know, there was Aretha Franklin had a song about a Cadillac, and Bruce Springsteen had some Cadillac song, and when I think of a Cadillac, I always thought of a hearse, and that was kind of the Cadillac I pictured in my mind. The big Cadillac that I was going to ride was going to be the last ride I was going to take, and that was, you know, that was the beginning of whatever that idea is, and I just ran with it.
Is that one of the ones that gets the best response when you play somewhere?
I haven't played it in a while. Yeah, yeah.
Because that gets it's a really kind of a.
I'll start doing it again. It was yeah. I guess, you know, when I was playing solo, I just couldn't get enough energy in the performance to get across what that sound is like to me on the recording of it. But now I got this guy Sergio Webb, who's like a killer guitar player, and we can make all kinds of noise. So I think we'll start up doing that song
What
again.
about?
You wheels that hold me on this highway, oh, keep me safe and keep me going. You wheels that hold me on this highway, oh, keep me safe and keep me going. Up. You can trade in your pencils and your little tin cup. You can get up off your knees, you can get up off your back when they hand you the keys to the big Cadillac. Shadows in the night.
to look your best in the big Cadillac.
Covington Girl. Tell me about that one.
That's a song I wrote with Sergio and John Hadley, and we wrote it down in Norman, Oklahoma. John Hadley is not only a songwriter, but he's a painter, and he used to teach painting at the University of Oklahoma, and he has shows and that kind of stuff. Anyway, we were coming back from South by Southwest, Sergio and I, and we stopped at John's, just to crash out for the night and, to maybe write a song. And Sergio had this sort of sprightly, kind of thing.
It's about robbing somebody and
yes,
giving a ribbon to the Covington Girl.
I heard him play it and, and figured out what he was doing. I thought, I've got to say something quick, or one of these guys is going to say something like, rosin up the bow and,
right.
blah, 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 and end up in,
Bluegrass land?
Weenie land, I don't know, sprightly Irish elves and leprechauns and crap. And I just blurted out, Billy put a bullet in the chamber of the gun. I thought, hello. And that gave, and then it was going to have some edge to it, and it would sort of work against this kind of benign melody, pretty melody. And it turned out great.
But the guy gets away with it at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Never gets caught.
No, it's a good family man.
Yeah, a good family man. He gives what was the rest of it? He gives a ribbon to the Covington. Something.
A fiddle for pawn,
right.
Something for Mon, a ribbon for my Covington Girl. It's a very generous guy.
Yeah.
And it's a very sort of gentlemanly train robbery. And
the other one that I really liked that I saw that video on was, I can't remember that, Red Tail
Hawk.
Red Tail Hawk. Tell me, that's a really pretty song. Tell me about that.
That's with John Hadley again, and where was the kickoff point for that? It was, I just sort of pictured someone walking, and he's sort of describing what's going on that plane, walking down a lane or whatever, and then the whole thing kind of, it's like if it's a camera angle, it just sort of swoops up and you see this bird. And the bird, suddenly you're thinking about what the bird sees. And it was kind of an abstract thing of being able to switch from one point of view where suddenly the bird is in the eye, he's looking in the eye and of the one he loves. And suddenly you're seeing hearing love songs and heartbeats. It's just kind of mixing things. I don't know how to describe this.
Where my legs go, I will follow, and where the wind blows, I don't care. As long as I know that you love me, wherever I go, you'll be there. In the circle high above me, a red-tailed hawk against the sky, like the turning of the seasons, changing colors in your eyes. in your eyes. There's a river in a raindrop. You can see it, you know how. And there's a love song in a heartbeat, forever, here and now. I will find you on the highway in a foreign, distant land, and I will find you on the pathway of the lifeline in my hand, in my hand. Where my legs go, I will follow. Where the wind blows, I don't care. As long as I know that you love me, wherever I go, you'll be there.
That was good. The I've heard somebody say, a whole bunch of people say, that don't let the good story get in the way of the truth, or so let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of your songs start out truthful and go a different direction.
They don't even start out truthful.
No, you just make them up.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm totally I've written kind of songs about things that happened to me, but
the Red Tail songs sounded pretty truthful to me.
Well, there's truth. It's got a good bit of art in it. I mean, but it does. You can tell the truth and not be talking about yourself. In fact, in my case, if I'm talking about myself, I will start censoring things because there's just so much embarrassing crap that I won't be straightforward. Whereas if I just make somebody up, I can have them do the stuff that I do, but I would never admit to.
Right.
You know, so everything is a personal thing because you made these characters up in your head. But I have no wish to like explain to people how bad I felt when, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know? I don't want to go through that.
What about this thing with poetry? I mean, I see you've always been into poetry? I mean, I saw you did this thing I saw this thing on the internet about you did a poem, Kubla Khan.
Kubla Khan,
right.
Yeah. That came about.
But before that came about, have you always been into poetry?
No. I would like some of it, but mostly I would read it and not understand it. I felt the same.
That's how I felt. I can never
the same way if I
it.
go to a, you know, modern art thing, I'm just kind of going, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, even when you would, believe it or not, I listened to the whole Kubla Khan thing. I remembered it, but I still don't get it.
Well,
I guess I should get it, but I don't get it.
If you memorize
it.
it,
stupid or something.
If you memorize it, then you have to have an opinion about every line, or else you won't be able to remember it. So I was the same way. It's just like this opaque I might as well be reading the phone book or something.
Right.
And then, but once you've got to memorize it, then you say, this fits together this way, even if it doesn't, I'm going to pretend it does, and have an opinion about it, basically. And then once I did that, you know, then it was, well, you can't stop me, man.
I know you.
Xanadu to Kubla Khan, you know, and it was.
There was another one I watched too. I can't remember what the name of it was though. There's another poem on there.
Do not go gentle. We did a bunch of them. Do not go gentle into that good night, and
That's the Dylan Thomas.
yeah, we did a couple.
Let me show some of these things before we run out of time. Here's some. We're going to go through these again. These are different ones that we didn't show before. One Tough Town. Boy, you got a lot of CDs.
I'm going to keep making them until somebody buys them.
Okay, we got. I don't know. Just whoop. Here's David Olney and
Sergio.
Webb and with Jack Irwin.
That's out at Norm's River Roadhouse, which was out there.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, well, it's gone now.
Oh,
the
it's
flood.
gone?
Yeah, the flood took it away.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
And this is Dutchman Curve.
The Dutchman's Curve, that's the one that's got Covington Girl on it.
Okay, and then we have this one. I listened to one of the CDs. And
Yeah.
I listened to the one that had Jerusalem and had 6 songs
Yeah.
about. These are thematics.
Yeah,
thematic
that
CD.
was the Stone, and it was songs
Stone,
that had to
right.
do with the Easter story, but they're sort of oddball
And this
points
is
of
thematic, which each one is about a different film noir,
view. Yeah.
and the Stone, and robbery and murder. This will be interesting. Betty and Dupree, or Go Down Dupree.
Yeah, but it's got the Betty and Dupree, the Chuck Willis. Do you remember that? You're not old enough.
I
to
remember Betty. I'm only like 20 years old.
I know.
There's a this Betty and Dupree. Oh, there it says Betty and Dupree in it. Yeah, there it is. That was the Peter Paul Mary did that song. Everybody
No,
did that
not
song.
them. No, Chuck Willis. He was king. Chuck Willis was king of the stroll, and he wore a turban. He's really good. He did I don't want to hang up my rock and roll shoes, and he did It's Too Late, She's Gone.
You know, I'm not very cool. I don't know any of this stuff. Let me get this one. I want to talk about this one.
I could be making this up.
You could be. You ready? Here's one I was really interested in. You got this one, Kristen? This is about a baseball. Dizzy Dean.
Yep.
Now, tell me about this. This is really interesting.
This my friend Ben Jones, who was in the show The Dukes of Hazzard, and I'm supposed to look at you or look at them?
No, you can look. You can look. Well, you want to look at them. Look right over there.
Okay. Nah, it's too weird.
Okay.
He played Cooter, the cousin that fixed the cars that the boys were constantly
Right.
wrecking. And then another thing he did, he was a congressman from Georgia. I mean, he's a very interesting guy that I knew from working with him in the Atlanta Children's Theater. And he had this one-man show where he played Dizzy Dean, and he would just sort of talk about his life and blah, blah, blah. And he got it in his mind that he thought it might make a good musical, so he got a hold of me, and then I got together with John Hadley, and we wrote a bunch of songs about Dizzy Dean.
Who's anybody seen Elmer? Who's Elmer?
Elmer was Dizzy Dean's brother.
I thought Daffy Dean.
That was his brother, Paul.
Paul Dean.
Yeah.
Oh, he had another brother.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Elmer was kind of a bit slow or whatever. But anyway, the family was out picking cotton. They would just sort of travel around, the dad and the 3 sons. And there was Elmer was in a car in front with some other people that were, anyway, they lost sight of that car, and they lost Elmer for about 7 years. And it wasn't until Dizzy Dean was quite famous that they found Elmer again. It's a weird story.
What do you mean lost them?
There was a train track, and there's 2 cars, kind of tandem, and one car gets over the railroad tracks, and the other one has to stop. And Elmer's in the first car with some other people.
And you just lost them?
They just lost him.
Didn't have telephones? Could you call them or anything?
No. They were like, they didn't even have shoes, much less telephones.
Oh, okay.
It's way back in
Right.
the
Whatever happened to
30s.
Elmer? So you have a song about the Gas House Gang.
Yeah, that was the 34 St. Louis Cardinals that won the World Series, beat the Detroit Tigers.
Really? I thought the Gas House game was after that with Stan Musial in him.
No.
Oh, I guess I'm wrong.
I know you're wrong.
Okay. But there was a movie about Dizzy Dean. I don't remember who was in it, but I remember saw a movie about it.
I don't remember. He would
was a
appear
sports-
in little films and stuff, but he did after he did his baseball career, he became the announcer for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right, and everybody complained about him because
Oh yeah, because he
the
spoke
language.
bad and he slid into third, you
Right.
know. But it was just colorful language. He was a very bright and to me he was kind of like a white Muhammad Ali. He was just sort of a larger than life guy who would just kind of say whatever popped into his head.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of you know, you may not get the facts right, but it's kind of a straightforward way of dealing with reality.
Right. Anyway, we've only got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah.
And so you're doing a lot of house concerts, right?
Yeah, I do, you know, anything that comes
What is
up.
a house concert? Somebody calls you and says, come up to my house and play
Yeah.
for my friends?
Yeah, and I used to look down my nose at it. I thought, well, that's not a real gig, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, but if you're playing for someone for the first time, it's absolutely the best way to present what you do because they're 4 feet away. You know, they're there to hear you. There's not going to be any extraneous noise. They're there to listen to you.
Microphones or no microphones?
Microphones. I've done them where if I just play by myself, I could do it without microphones. But with Sergio, we make a good bit of noise, and if you got to have microphones, or I just blow my voice out.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Anyway, it's been good having you, David. And,
Yeah, Jesse, I appreciate the chance to come out here and talk to you.
And if anybody out there is around town, you see David Olney playing, you're going to hear something that you haven't heard before, something totally different.
That could be bad.
It could be bad, but it might be good. So anyway, my name is Jesse Goldberg. It's my guest David Olney. We'll see you next week on another edition of the show.
It's a rough life. Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough